Do not buy a car in 2022. That's what a lot of financial insiders, even economic YouTubers here, and people in the inside of the car industry have been saying. They're saying that there's a car price bubble and the bubble is bursting, and that you should wait to buy a car because prices now are way too high and that prices are going down. Is it true? Not true? Well, let's go ahead and take a look and dive into it right now. Before we proceed, please make sure that you are subscribed if you like these updates, or at least hit that like button if you like what we talk about. It really helps us. Thank you very much. Let's get into it right now. Now today, to decide what's going to happen with new and used car prices, we're going to focus on several different aspects. One is the defaults. We know that especially subprime car loans have been defaulting now in much larger numbers. And then we also have the supply side of things to look at, the chip shortage, and the manufacturing side of it. We also have lending for people looking to buy vehicles. Has that loosened? Has that tightened? We're going to look at prices and inventory levels at dealers. But first, I'd like to get a shout out to a YouTuber. And this is Lucky over at Automotive Life. Very nice channel, very informative information. And go check his channel out. If you like what we're going to talk about here today, you'll really like his channel. And this is what Lucky is calling the auto loan apocalypse. And we just reported on this same thing about a week ago. The car loan default storm begins right here in this video. So maybe go check that out, but we'll do a briefing on that today. Now, the long and short of it is that earlier this year in 2022, auto loan defaults hit a record high, with nearly 10% of automobile loans being 60 days plus past due. Now, what's contributing to these auto loan defaults hitting an all-time high? Well, there's many factors. And the first is loose lending. We saw a lot of subprime car loans. We saw loans getting stretched out to 6 years, 7 years. No down payment required. A lot of the same things that we saw in other markets that took a nosedive previously, like the housing market back in 2008. But we also had stagnant wages plus high prices. Yes, wages went up a little bit, but nothing compared to the staggering increase in the prices of new and used vehicles over the past couple years. But the third point we want to put in here is the temporary elevated incomes during the health crisis. So lenders giving out loans for new and used cars factored in the stimulus checks and all the other payout programs that elevated incomes during the shutdowns of 2020 and 2021. And they gave out loans based on those temporarily elevated incomes, which is not good, but that goes along with the loose lending. And that's one of the key points that Lucky goes to in this video, Auto Loan Apocalypse. And the car price mania got so crazy that even companies like Carvana saw a big surge in their stock, only to crash down recently about 90% from the all-time high. We look at the high, about $360 back in August 2021. Now you can get the stock for about 10% of its former high price, now in about the $33 range. That's Carvana. So if Carvana's stock is a leading indicator on what's going to be happening in the used car and vehicle industry, and even new cars, then we have to ask ourselves, is there a big decline ahead based on what's happened with Carvana's stock price? Also, others that are pointing to a car price apocalypse here in 2022 look at articles like this. Rising inventories at CarMax represent a glimmer of hope for used car shoppers. So we've seen a pretty big rise in car lot and dealer inventories as of late. And only looking at the beginning of this year, January 2022, up until late March, we saw the days of vehicle inventory go from 20 days up to over 30 days in just those 3 months. And what that number is basically the number of days it would take a car dealer to get rid of all inventory if they didn't add in new inventory. And that's based on the number of vehicles for sale compared to the sales volume and how many vehicles are sold. And we also see articles like this out of Hot Cars: used car bubble likely to burst in 2022. Here's how they lay it out in this article over at Hot Cars. Quote, but there's a negative side of this. People who purchased a used car in recent months have paid over 40% premiums versus the actual value. However, they won't be getting that back once the bubble bursts and prices settle. That's on top of the financing they have for the car, which is already pretty high. In short, people who bought used cars during the 2020, 2021 seasons will potentially end up losing quite a bit of money once everything is back to normal. So this article indicates that things will get back to normal. Now, I actually have to disagree with that a little bit. I think the new normal is abnormal, but that's just my opinion. Let's continue into this article. And this article goes on also to talk about the big rise in inventory, citing a 75% increase in inventory since the beginning of the year, also looking at CarMax inventories. Also, they point to an increase in production and manufacturing. In fact, some car makers are taking away optional features like heated seats, folding mirrors, etc., in order to ramp production back up. Instead of stopping or slowing production because of the chip shortage, they're just taking away some of these luxury features in many of these cars. And now, what we're likely to see to add to this list here is tighter lending due to defaults combined with higher interest rates on car loans, which is part of the tightening that the Fed has been doing. Next, let's take a look at what Manheim used vehicle prices tell us on the direction of car and truck prices. And looking to the far right here of this chart, year 2022, we see that since January, we're seeing some slight decreases in the average price of a used car, with the exception of the uptick from April to May. But that's typical as we get into the summer season, that prices pick back up compared to the rest of the year. So the true test is going to be as we get out of summer into the fall, later 2022, what's going to happen with car prices, combined with what I think is going to be a consumer bankruptcy storm, with so many people now maxed out on credit cards. Layoffs are starting to tick up. The wealth effect vanishing from some of these market asset bubbles that have busted. And many people say the stock market bubble is busted and is not going back to all-time highs anytime soon. Combine that with higher prices and things like food, energy, and fuel, and it's going to be more and more difficult for people to go out and buy an expensive car or a truck. So please let me know what you think about this down in comments. Has the automobile price bubble busted, or are we still going to see more rising prices in the year 2022? Please let me know down in comments. Thanks everybody for being here, for your support. Talk to you very soon. Bye now.